A chaotic world with an erupting volcano and monsters. Warriors fight creatures in a forest. A man faces a terrifying monster with red eyes. Two warriors attack the creature together. The monster lunges forward to attack. A mysterious power shines in the warrior's eyes. With a quick and powerful strike, he attacks. The creature is violently defeated. The warrior stands victorious after the battle. Chansu watches an advertisement on a screen. World Dispatch, it's your future. The advertisement calls to him, sign up now. Suddenly, a strong hand grabs his shoulder. His boss scolds him for being distracted. Chansu bows and apologizes hastily. He rushes to finish his job of clearing the vines. He thinks worried, oh no, I got noticed on the first day back in the day. Determined, he says to himself, no, I can't get fired again. He starts working with impressive speed. His boss watches, surprised by his efficiency. The boss praises him. Wow, it's rare to see a young man like you these days. Finish this and you can go home early. As he leaves, Chansu wonders if the dispatch is just a fantasy for him. The narration explains, like a game whose service has ended, Earth had lost its vitality. The narration continues. Then, an unknown absolute being revealed the answer, dispatched to another world. The narration concludes, heroes called dispatchers who left Earth for other worlds. As he walks, he thinks, tomorrow they're going to call me. He arrives at a building where many people are gathered. He observes the crowd, so many people here again today. He makes his way through, saying, excuse me, it's my turn, just a second. At the counter, the attendant asks, are you Mr. O Chansu? The man checks Chansu's information on the computer. The record shows that Chansu has already paid a large sum for a family dispatch search. The attendant informs him that his balance is insufficient. The attendant dismisses him, please come back when you have sufficient funds. Another man pushes him roughly aside, shouting, move, it's my turn. Discouraged, Chansu leaves. He enters his empty apartment. I'm back. Memories of his childhood emerge. He remembers his father, a high-level returnee who encouraged him, come on, try one more kick. The memory concludes, he never came back. The young Chansu was left alone, calling out, Dad. He remembers his mother holding his hands. She promised she would be back soon, but she never did. In the present, he reflects, and so I was left alone. He thinks that his memories of them are already very faded. Suddenly, an intense light shines from outside. He runs to the window to see what's happening. A huge beam of light strikes the city. The shockwave throws him away, and he screams. He is thrown against the wall, and an object hits him on the head, knocking him unconscious. He wakes up with a throbbing headache. His cell phone displays a disaster alert and the news of a Class S returnee's retirement. He is astonished. Retirement. He watches the returnee's interview, who says, I failed to protect the god, I lost all my companions, and I had to return alone. The returnee continues, I no longer have the ability to go on missions. After much consideration, I announce my retirement. He concludes with an appeal, I beg you, please, protect Earth, don't lose courage. The news shows the gravity of the situation, with the population declining and the lack of new returnees. Chansu sits absorbing the grim news. Suddenly, he hears a knock on the door. Confused, he gets up to see who it is. Outside, a talking rabbit asks, Mr. O Chansu, are you there? Chansu opens the door and thinks it's a prank. In a panic, he slams the door in the rabbit's face. He despairs as he hears the rabbit confirm his name, realizing it's real, a talking rabbit. The rabbit calmly presents him with a document, claiming to have good news. Chansu shouts, incredulous, what kind of nonsense are you talking about, and it's a rabbit. The rabbit states, but it's a fact that you, O Chansu, have been chosen. If you're still suspicious, shall we go somewhere else? As they walk, the rabbit asks about special talents, but Chansu replies that he is not eligible for dispatch. Chansu confesses, I really don't have anything that could be called a special talent. Chansu is surprised and thinks, you didn't know. Chansu thinks hopefully, I can't believe I'm going to the dispatch center, my chance has finally come. The rabbit scolds him, what are you doing, as if that's ever going to open. Chansu points to a small door and asks, incredulous, that's the entrance. He shouts, how am I supposed to get in there? He despairs thinking, what am I doing now, I don't even know anymore. Chansu replies as he crawls through the door, I'm going as fast as I can. Once inside the room, Chansu observes, it's more normal here than I expected. The rabbit explains that the world is called block-type territory capture and shows an event card. The rabbit gets annoyed and Chansu thinks, then why did you act like you knew? The rabbit composes himself and says, it's the most popular place at the moment. Chansu reflects, a god. I guess the returned A from the news also served a god. The rabbit throws the cards and says, if you decide right now. What do you say? The rabbit asks, will you make your choice? Chansu hesitates, I don't even know which one is good. The rabbit pressures him, Chansu, this is a rare occurrence, an opportunity like this, you know that right? He thinks, he's right, why am I hesitating like an idiot, I don't know when another chance like this will appear. He decides and takes a card, I'll take this one. The card reveals to be the God of Negation 44%. He thinks terrified, it's the God of Negation, the name already sounds horrible. Chansu asks if he can choose again and the rabbit agrees, sure. Chansu takes another card and panics, ah no, wait a minute, seriously. He takes the card and despairs, it's the God of Negation again. He shouts at the rabbit, how do I keep getting the same God every time? The rabbit replies seriously, there's nothing wrong with the cards, do you understand? Chansu thinks scared, what, why did he suddenly get so serious? The rabbit warns, now this is your last chance. With his eyes closed, he takes a card, begging, I don't care what it is, just please don't let it be negative again. Relieved, he celebrates, I got one. The card is the Goddess of Abundance 0.0000001%. He thinks, I got something, but the effects are a bit disappointing. He realizes, but still those are incredibly low odds, super rare. He fantasizes about the Goddess of Abundance. Chansu is confused, didn't you say it was my last chance? The rabbit replies, well then you'll have to leave immediately. The rabbit encourages him, this is your chance to go beyond being a dispatcher and become a returnee. The rabbit continues, everyone will admire you, Chansu. Chansu decides, right, if I keep going like this, I'll be running in the same place forever. A system message appears, congratulations, you will now serve the Goddess of Abundance. The welcome message appears, leaving Chansu shocked. The screen displays, potential dispatcher. He thinks astonished, that was the Goddess of Abundance. He is filled with confidence, with that goddess by my side I feel like I can do anything. He asks the rabbit, so where do I go now? The rabbit pushes him towards the portal and he shouts, wait a minute. He points to the portal, that doesn't look like it's in a good mood. The rabbit insists for him to look closely and see how beautiful it is, but Chansu thinks, anyone can see that it's a terribly dangerous black hole. He decides still, I won't back down anymore. I'll show everyone that I can do it. The rabbit kicks him into the portal and he screams. As he falls, he curses the rabbit, you bastard. He looks at a loading screen and asks, what is this now? A tip appears, the percentage of the god indicates the size of their influence. He reacts shocked, what? He starts laughing desperately, haha damn. I'm so screwed. The screen shows again, Goddess of Abundance 0.0000001%. Chansu arrives at a desolate and ruined place. A system window appears, and Chansu turns around confused. The system message greets him, welcome to the block land capture world. Oh Chansu, you are the apostle of important. Secure as much territory as possible. He notices a typo in the message and gets annoyed. He decides he shouldn't stand still and starts exploring the place. He finds a scythe on the ground and wonders what it is. He picks up the scythe. Suddenly, he feels a scary presence behind him and panics. He sees a silhouette with glowing eyes and thinks, scared, it can't be. He despairs, damn, I haven't even met the goddess yet and there's already a monster. I can't die like this. He decides to use the scythe to at least threaten the creature. To his surprise, the creature is just a small hamster who cries scared. Chansu observes the small hamster on the ground. He thinks with a dark look, still, since it's a monster, maybe I'll gain something if I catch it. The hamster continues to cry, terrified. He changes his mind, smiling and finding the hamster cute. The hamster starts to run away. The hamster stops and seems to call him to follow it. The hamster runs, calling him. He realizes that the hamster wants him to follow it. Chansu starts running after the hamster. He shouts, breathless, this little thing is super fast, where the hell are you going? They finally arrive at a place near a waterfall. He finds a waterfall and exclaims, water. He fills his canteen with water. He drinks the water. He feels refreshed, it's so refreshing. He sits down and asks the hamster if it lives there. He asks if the hamster knows where the very abundant goddess of abundance is. He sighs, realizing that it's impossible to talk to the hamster. The hamster points in another direction, indicating that they should continue. He agrees, all right, let's see where you take me this time. The hamster leads him to a huge tree. He is impressed by the size of the tree, but notices that it is dry. He compares it to the trees on Earth. He notices something on the ground. He steps on a ginseng root. The hamster panics at the scene. The hamster cries over the ginseng, and Chansu apologizes. A system tip appears. You have discovered the divinity of this area. He is confused by the system tip. The hamster pulls his pants to get his attention. He picks up the hamster and says he's busy. The hamster squirms, desperately trying to show him something. The hamster points to the ginseng on the ground. He looks at the crushed ginseng with a horrified expression. He looks at the root and wonders, shocked, the divinity is. He denies it, saying it's just ginseng and can't be the goddess he serves. A note, the image may be different from the real one, appears and he shouts, what? He falls to his knees, desperate, and realizes, land capture and percentages. It was an omen, huh? He remembers that the percentages on the gods' cards increased and concludes that their power expanded with the territory. He regrets not realizing that those cards were good. He concludes that the goddess of abundance must have shrunk as her territory diminished. Terrified, he wonders if he was the one who dealt the final blow to the goddess. Since she is dry, he decides to give her some water. He pours water on the ginseng root. The root begins to glow, appearing to revive. Excited, he decides to give more water. The ginseng seems to be drowning from the excess water. He and the hamster celebrate, seeing that she woke up. He formally introduces himself, I am Chansu, Apostle of Abundance. He recognizes her as his main divinity. He wonders why she can barely move. He admits he has no idea what to do next. The system advises him, use skills to become even stronger. He accesses the skills menu. He finds a skill called Blessing of Abundance, and below it the word decapitate. He is shocked, decapitate, as in cutting someone's head off. He imagines a guillotine and wonders if the meaning of abundance is to cut off the heads of the bourgeoisie and live abundantly. He questions why the goddess of abundance would give such a violent skill. The ginseng goddess stares at him with a serious expression. Nervously, he asks her if the skill really requires him to cut off heads. The goddess seems to confirm with a nod. He tries to rationalize, thinking that agriculture in a broader sense could include slaughter. He looks at the dancing hamster and has a terrible idea. He thinks he might have to use the skill on the hamster. With a dark look, he approaches the hamster with the scythe in his hand. The hamster questions him with a sound. Chansu prepares to attack with the scythe. Chansu raises the scythe over the terrified hamster, saying, "I guess I can't help but be an apostle too." The hamster screams in terror as the scythe comes down. The ginseng goddess also shrinks back in fear. The hamster and goddess hug each other, terrified by Chansu's shadow. Both cry in fear. Chansu turns sharply and asks, "What is that?" The hamster and goddess scream. A monstrous dark foot emerges from the shadows. Chansu is startled and shouts, "What is that, seriously?" A dark monster with multiple glowing eyes looms over them. The goddess and hamster tremble in fear. Chansu realizes his mistake. "Wait, so that thing wasn't a monster, I was mistaken." He makes up his mind, thinking, so. He faces the creature and concludes, "I have to defeat that guy instead." He tightens his grip on the handle of his scythe. He advances against the monster, thinking, "No, I really have to do this." With a determined look he thinks, "And I can see clearly where to attack." A system notification appears. You can activate the skill Decapitation. Chansu jumps to attack. He prepares to deliver the blow. With a swift movement, he cuts the monster in half. The hamster and goddess watch the scene, shocked. The monster dissolves into the air. After the battle, Chansu approaches the goddess and the hamster. He thinks, looking at the hamster, "This little guy, in that brief moment did he protect the goddess?" He kneels and bows an apology. The hamster and goddess look confused. The hamster gives him a thumbs up. Chansu smiles, relieved. The hamster celebrates, beaming with happiness. A system window appears before them. The system message reads, "Due to the skill's effect, the head is automatically transferred. Immortal Oni Hunt 1. Chansu reflects, a somewhat scary name for something so easy, huh? Another system notification appears. Transferred tributes are linked to the goddess. He turns to look at the goddess. He notices that the goddess is brighter and asks, "Huh, goddess?" He perks up and says, "If we keep repeating this, you'll return to your abundant form." He runs off declaring, "I'm going to hunt more, goddess." He encounters a group of monsters identical to the previous one. He stops upon seeing a system window and asks, "M?" The system notification informs about the existence of unidentified points used for system resources, with no exchange between players. He analyzes the received information. He decides that his priority is to defeat the monsters. He faces the monsters. He prepares to fight. He thinks, "Lucky I have a skill, strong but not difficult to use." He advances, thinking, "Besides, mud monsters are so slow." He activates his skill and attacks the monsters. The system notification instructs him, "Hunt monsters to earn points." He continues the hunt with determination. The system counter marks, "Immortal Oni Hunt 4. He continues hunting in the forest. The hamster, now on his shoulder, celebrates the victory. The hamster nudges him excitedly. Chansu smiles and says, "Ow, handle, stop." Seeing the counter at 101, he wonders, "But seriously, why the name Immortal Oni?" He returns to where the goddess is. He observes her and smiles. He says to her, "You've become even more radiant." He has a perverted thought about her true form which embarrasses the hamster. He thinks, at this rate, she might regain her true form soon. He composes himself and asks the goddess what to do next. The goddess guides him to the large, dry tree. The goddess gestures towards the tree. Chansu carries her to the tree. The goddess touches the trunk of the tree. She gestures for Chansu to touch the tree as well. He obeys and places his hand on the trunk. The system notifies him that he can use the Blessing of Abundance skill, and that all blessings consume points. A green aura surrounds the hamster, who watches in wonder. The goddess also watches the energy flow. Chansu begins to channel the energy. He decides, "Okay, points I earned hunting monsters. Dump them all in." The green energy revitalizes the branches of the tree. The tree comes back to life. The tree is completely enveloped in light. The tree is completely revived, now full of red apples. Chansu and the others look at the restored tree. He is surprised to see the fruit, an apple. He picks one of the apples. Impressed with the size, he thinks, I've never seen one on Earth, were apples always this big and heavy. He says to himself, I want to eat it right now, but first. He kneels and offers the fruit. I dedicate the first harvest to the goddess. The goddess hugs the apple happily. He comments, I hope you return to your former self soon, but honestly you're pretty cute like this too. The goddess begins to absorb the apple. The apple withers quickly as she extracts its essence. Chansu is shocked by the speed of the absorption. He decides to get more fruit, thinking, better not get on her bad side. He calls the hamster, Hamdal, let's eat too. He bites into the apple thinking, I have to be cautious, but... He delights in the taste and exclaims, delicious. He thinks amazed, this apple is insanely good. The goddess watches them from afar. She peeks from behind the tree and thinks, what? The goddess seems surprised by Chansu's actions. It is said that the abundance faction, responsible for food, was once a considerable force due to its high-quality agricultural products. However, when corruption began to absorb other factions, Abundance had no choice but to flee. The Abundance faction was attacked by monsters, unable to fight back. To survive, they abandoned their businesses and turned to hunting monsters, but they were not suited for battle. Abundance was doomed to fall. The ginseng goddess thinks that the decapitate skill is not for combat, but a modified skill to, at least, bring back the heads of dead animals or monsters. She concludes that this was the best solution they found, since abundance and warriors don't mix. She observes Chansu, thinking that maybe it wouldn't be impossible for someone incredibly strong to use the skill to fight. The ginseng goddess is startled by Chansu's gaze. Chansu politely asks if he can pick more apples, and the goddess wonders why a child like him came to her. The goddess decides that, in any case, Chansu is now hers and clings to his leg. Chansu asks surprised, "Goddess?" The goddess hugs his leg tightly. Chansu is terrified, thinking she might try to absorb him. Chansu returns with a basket of apples to the place where he arrived. He notices that the goddess has fallen asleep in his hands. He gently lays her on the ground. A sudden noise startles Chansu. He wonders what that thunder in a clear sky was and hopes he didn't wake the goddess. Chansu laments that his stomach is complaining and that just apples are not enough to sustain him. A system window appears. The message announces, a delivery event is in progress. Chansu reads that the Grand Block Land Capture Summoning event is in progress and is surprised that there are events. He thinks it's better to sleep a little, as he is exhausted. He covers the goddess with a leaf and tells her to use it as a blanket. The scene changes to the Temple of Circulation. A woman, Sujin, walks furiously through an office. She barges into her superior's room, startling him. The superior asks, "You and the delivery, why are you here?" Sujin confronts him, annoyed. She shouts that they are not gaining anything from the free shipping event and questions whether he is surviving only on apples like Chansu. Desperate, she asks, "Did I do something wrong?" The superior advises her, "Take a break, even if it's under the guise of a business trip." She retorts, "I know it's because no one else wants to go on the trip, you know." He pushes her out, and she complains that she will freeze to death in some hidden realm of nowhere. The superior says goodbye as Sujin looks defeated. Sujin looks at a long list of orders and wonders why it is so extensive, remembering that she needs to prepare to go to a restricted area. She determines, thinking, "I hope it's not all in vain." Chansu plays hide-and-seek, saying, "I can see your hair, Tilda." Hamdal is hiding, making noise. Chansu finds Hamdal nibbling on one of the apples. He pinches Hamdal's cheeks. Chansu playfully scolds him, You rascal." Chansu worries, what will we do if it continues like this when we have a scheduled visit for today? He thinks he can't make a bad impression on the first meeting. A system explanation shows that the world is divided into blocks. To move to another block, a daily movement ticket is required. For Chansu, the surrounding area is desolate, and the nearest village is a week away. He reflects that luckily, the delivery only takes 2 days. Lying on the ground, he eagerly awaits the arrival of his sleeping bag. He thinks, to avoid turning into a mummy, I need to increase favorability little by little. Chansu notices a group of monsters and says, surprisingly, they even deliver monsters. They've been coming to me on their own since yesterday. Chansu advances to the battle. He attacks the monsters with his scythe. He continues to fight the horde. He thinks, I knew it, their movements are a little faster. He concludes, well, even so, it's only to a minimal degree. Chansu defeats all the monsters. Sujin arrives and observes the scene from above, shocked. She thinks insane. Chansu and Hamdal laugh victoriously after the battle. The monster undead ghoul is introduced. More undead ghouls emerge from the ground. It is explained that the creature casts a curse on its target, causing them to collapse. Chansu fights fiercely against the ghouls. Watching from afar, Sujin wonders, shocked, who is that crazy bastard? Sujin reflects, aren't they afraid of the consequences, and they don't seem to be purifying the curse. She continues to ponder, frightened, don't tell me. She watches him fight and thinks, but why would a Swordmaster be dealing with apples? Well, it's not quite a sword. Sujin decides to leave, thinking, let's not provoke him, who knows what will happen if we get on his bad side. After the battle, Chansu checks a system window. He smiles, satisfied with the result in the system window. He calculates, it costs 1,000 points per apple for the blessing, so I should be able to do up to 100 today without any problems. He looks at a distant temple and concludes that the place must be a point jackpot block. Sujin arrives and surprises Chansu. She bows in greeting. Sujin formally introduces herself. My name is Hei Sujin from Circulation Trading. Your package has arrived. Chansu greets her and asks how she found him. She thinks, you kind of stood out. He treats ghouls like toys. I can't let my guard down. Sujin reaffirms to herself that she must not let her guard down. She spots Hamdal and thinks, enchanted, what is that marshmallow ball? Completely in love with Hamdal, she thinks repeatedly, I want to touch it, I want to pinch it. She tries to compose herself but still thinks, I want to touch it. Sujin sneaks closer, trying to get near Hamdal. She continues to watch Hamdal with admiration. Hamdal seems to notice her gaze and composes himself. As they walk, Chansu doesn't seem to notice Sujin's obsession with Hamdal. Sujin is impressed with the apple tree and thinks, is that really an apple tree, the size of this tree? Chansu offers a giant apple to Sujin. She takes the fruit and thinks, shocked, it's not just the tree, is this even an apple? She hesitates before biting, thinking, but when the fruit is too big it tends to lose its sweetness. Is it just for show? She bites the apple. Her eyes widen with the taste. She devours the apple thinking, it's not just sweet, the perfect amount of acidity creates a perfect harmony. She calculates the value of the fruit. A taste of this level must be worth at least 50,000. No, if I play my cards right, I can get more than 100,000 gold. She turns to talk to Chansu. She stares at him with a serious expression. Chansu awaits her assessment, a little nervous. Sujin makes a 2 sign with her fingers. She says the price, 20,000. Sujin reaffirms the value of 20,000 with a confident expression. Chansu and Hamdal shout in surprise. Chansu asks incredulously, are they that expensive? Sujin thinks that she can't deceive a potential client. She remembers Chansu fighting and thinks that it's better to be honest, as she only has one life. Chansu tries to process the information. Sujin states, I believe this apple has an even greater value. She prepares a formal contract. She proposes to Chansu, I would like to pay the remaining balance with a formal contract. What do you think? Chansu accepts the pen to sign. He analyzes the contract before signing. He smiles, satisfied with the terms. Sujin is surprised to see a change that Chansu made to the contract. Chansu smiles, explaining his decision. He explains that he wants to do long-term business with someone honest like her. Sujin is moved by his trust. She smiles, accepting the partnership. They shake hands and she thanks him for the contract. Sujin begins to deliver the ordered items. She hands Chansu the seeds, food, and kitchen utensils he ordered. She hands him a nest with eggs, saying, "It's a gift from circulation trading to commemorate our agreement." She adds that since he already raises a familiar, he might not need it, and thinks about how cute Hamdal is. Sujin apologizes for mistaking Hamdal for a familiar, finding him too friendly for a monster. She explains about the eggs. The more points you infuse through a blessing, the stronger the familiar that will be born. They finalize the details of the agreement. Chansu informs her that he plans to grow other things, and that his production will be about 50 apples per day. It is narrated that they coordinated the supply cycle and quantity, concluding the first deal. Sujin thinks about buying a warehouse. The ginseng goddess rests comfortably on a cushion. Chansu talks to the goddess, thinking that although Sujin seems like a good person, it's always better to be careful. Chansu is sitting on the floor with his new supplies. The ginseng goddess watches him with curiosity. The ginseng goddess happily hugs the familiar egg she won. Chansu looks at the eggs and thinks, if I want to use a blessing on the familiar egg, I'll need more points. He decides, first, I need to get more regular customers. A vote for your monster notification appears, with Undead Ghoul 101 in first place, to Chansu's disgust. Chansu smiles confidently, satisfied with his progress. He reflects, things are going better than I expected. There will be more to come, but I'm not afraid. Chansu smiles excitedly and says to himself, actually, I'm looking forward to it. In another location, apple slices are presented in an office. Sujin's superior tastes a slice of the apple. Sujin reports the situation to her superior. The superior eats the apple slice with a thoughtful expression. He comments that Chansu defeated more than 100 ghouls, only tearing off their heads. The superior theorizes that Chansu must be a sword master in training, self-imposing disadvantages. The superior prepares to take another slice. Sujin holds his wrist, preventing him from taking the last slice. They argue over the last slice of apple, each claiming it for themselves. Back at his camp, Chansu uses his blessing on the eggs and wonders, what kind of child will it be? A cute child, a hardworking child. Chansu, Hamdal, and the ginseng goddess watch the eggs glow with energy. One of the eggs begins to crack. Chansu exclaims, "Oh, it's cracking." The egg hatches in a bright light and Chansu thinks excitedly, SSS rank familiar. A cute chick hatches from an egg. Chansu is shocked and laments his 120,000 points spent, asking, a chick. He observes the chick and thinks, disappointed, it's a bit big for a chick. Isn't it just going to turn into a chicken? I was hoping for a worker. Chansu considers, should I just raise it and eat it? He decides to name the chick, hello, from today your name is Ari. Ari watches the second egg begin to hatch. Chansu says hopefully, this time it better be a worker. A piglet hatches from the second egg. Chansu despairs, questioning, why do I keep getting food ingredients? In a night scene, Ari and a new piglet sleep together. The ginseng goddess watches them with a sad expression. Ari and the piglet wake up startled. The ginseng goddess stares at them with a serious look. Chansu looks at the two familiars with a menacing look, thinking, how should I use these two? They are terrified. The goddess seems to be telling a story to Ari and the piglet. The two familiars remain terrified. The next morning, Chansu stretches outside. Chansu attacks a swarm of monsters, saying, good morning, my dear customers. Ari and the piglet watch the fight. They scream in fright at the sight of the battle. They watch Chansu's attack. Ari thinks, so that's beheading. Chansu prepares to continue the attack. The monsters are defeated. Ari says to the piglet, "Now that I think about it, the apostle was licking his lips at us." The piglet replies, scared, "He was." They imagine Chansu saying, "I guess I'll be eating chicken again for the first time in a while." Ari shouts internally, "I'm sure of it." The system counter shows, Immortal Demon Hunt 202. Chansu looks satisfied after the battle. He hears a noise behind him. Ari and the piglet approach and Ari says, "Oh, Apostle, you worked hard, it must have been difficult." The piglet hands Chansu a towel. Chansu takes the towel surprised. Chansu offers apple slices to the familiars and asks, "Here, one apiece." The piglet accepts excitedly. The two eat the apple slices. Chansu watches them with a sly smile. Ari scolds the piglet, "Stop eating, pig, you're going to turn into a pork belly with an apple scent." The piglet faints in fright. Ari eats the apple and thinks, impressed, "Wow, the aroma, he spent at least 500 points on this. Is he crazy? That's what a normal apostle earns in a day." Ari avidly devours his apple slice. Chansu pours a bowl of rice for them. Ari stares at the food and thinks, determined, "I'm not like that pig, I absolutely won't turn into fried chicken." Ari and the piglet eat the rice. An illustration shows Chansu and his familiars working on the farm. An illustration shows Chansu and his familiars taking care of a plant. An illustration of Chansu and Hamdal giving a thumbs-up sign. Chansu plants seeds and says, "Okay, perfect." He senses the presence of a monster. He sees a golden monster and wonders, do chicks like shiny things? Ari and the ginseng goddess follow Chansu. The ginseng goddess looks at a fertilizer. The goddess absorbs the fertilizer and Chansu thinks, "I'll never get used to the way she eats." The piglet also eats the fertilizer. He thinks, "Yummy, yummy." Ari also eats the fertilizer. After eating, Ari and the piglet lie down with full bellies. Ari cries with a stomach ache. Chansu observes his familiars. The facade of a department store is shown. Sujin's superior analyzes some reports. The superior observes a crowd in the store. He notices that despite the crowd, no one is buying the product. The emperor apple is on display, decorated with gold dust and winter bird feather. He thinks, "I packaged them super chic, but the price is scaring people away." He laments, "I can't do a tasting, if they ate one they'd understand." He hears an employee thank a customer for the purchase and is surprised. The crowd comments that someone is buying all the apples. The superior asks what's going on. He asks an employee what the commotion is about. The sales counter is empty. The crowd recognizes the man who bought the apples. It's Rohan, right? The superior is shocked. The crowd identifies the man as Rohan, the pioneer of training with disadvantages, and the master of the unparalleled sword. Rohan bites into an apple and says, "Delicious." The superior thinks, this is a huge scoop. Sujin's superior, Ryu, panics upon seeing the news about Rohan and the apple, with headlines saying the food that made him a sword master has finally hit the market. On the phone, Ryu vehemently denies the claims, shouting, "Of course not." The phone keeps ringing, increasing Ryu's stress. He continues to answer the calls, visibly overwhelmed. Frustrated, he yells at someone on the other end of the line. Chansu reflects that it's been a week and he's living a pretty abundant life. Chansu prepares to cook. Happily, Chansu displays a potato and a sweet potato he harvested. Chansu cooks skillfully, impressing Hamdal. The piglet Doji catches Chansu's attention. Doji drools, showing he's hungry. Chansu relents and feeds Doji, saying, "All right, here, eat at least this." Sujin arrives at the location. Sujin and Chansu greet each other. The familiars band together to hide and protect Sujin's goddess, the outsider. Sujin, excited, starts chatting with Chansu. She brings good news showing on a screen, sold out for 2 days in a row. Chansu reacts with a shock of joy, unable to believe it. Chansu thinks apples here aren't even considered expensive. Are there that many rich people? He calculates his earnings. With his 30% share, he would receive 60,000 gold per apple, totaling 3 million per day. Chansu is shocked to realize this means an annual income of 1 billion. He imagines himself living a billionaire's life. With this money, he believes he could finally find clues about his parents. Despite the excitement, Chansu expresses a concern. He expresses his doubt. They may be popular now, but there's no way they'll keep selling for 200,000 gold forever. Sujin listens to his concern. Sujin reassures him, explaining that while it seems like a lot by Earth standards, the current market is as vast as China once was, so there's no need to worry. She holds him intensely, about to place an order. Chansu laughs, embarrassed by her closeness. Extremely excited, she asks if his other crops are as delicious as the apples. Chansu serves the cooked potatoes for her to try. She loves the taste and exclaims, "Sweet." She notes that with a little salt, the combination is perfect. Relieved by the positive reaction, Chansu offers more dishes. I also prepared jian and French fries. She keeps eating, finding everything too delicious. She praises the food, saying it could be served in a luxury restaurant. Finally, Chansu presents roasted sweet potatoes. The familiars, Doji and Ari, rush to Chansu asking for food too. Doji shouts excitedly, "Me too, me too." Chansu feeds them both, joking, "Ari, why are you so skinny? Doji, you stole Ari's share, didn't you?" Hamdal approaches Sujin. Sujin finally gets to pet Hamdal and melts. So cute, so fluffy. Sujin thanks him for the delicious meal while petting Hamdal. Chansu reflects that he can't spend all his points just on agriculture. Sujin then asks, "Can I ask you to focus on apples instead?" She explains that since all the apostles are Korean and influence the culture, common crops won't sell for high prices like apples. She bows and begs him to consider focusing on apples. She immediately regrets it, thinking she pressured him too much after all his effort and the meal he offered. To her surprise, Chansu agrees to increase apple production. Chansu thinks there's no need to take the harder path, but it was worth a try since she liked the food. Sujin thanks him, beaming. Later, Chansu walks through the land with Ari and Doji following him. Doji grumbles, "It's not like we can actually do anything." Ari replies angrily that they can't just ask the dumb hamster to do everything. Chansu wonders why they follow him everywhere and starts to suspect they might be the combat type. Suddenly, a monster appears behind Ari and Doji, who scream in terror. Chansu reacts with annoyance. The monster threatens Doji. Chansu yells for Doji to get out of the way, worried he's too far to help. He throws his scythe towards the monster to protect Doji. He fears the throw was too short. However, the attack expands into a wave of energy, destroying the monster. Chansu is surprised, realizing the range of his skill has increased. He wonders, did the skill just get enhanced? He analyzes the improvement in the angle and positioning of the scythe. And in the speed, as he unleashes a new powerful attack against other monsters. A system window confirms mass decapitation has been activated. The range of the decapitate skill has been expanded. Chansu finds the name strange, but decides to take advantage of the new skill. He smiles, realizing he can now attract even more monsters. He eliminates the rest of the monsters with ease, to the terror of Ari and Doji. Terrified, Ari and Doji run to the goddess, shouting that something terrible happened. Ari tries to calm down to explain the situation to the worried goddess. The goddess is shocked to hear the name of the new skill, Mass, what? She imagines Chansu as a demonic reaper and is terrified. Doji, the piglet, is startled by Chansu's new ability and wonders if he is the grim reaper of hell. The ginseng goddess has a sudden realization. The goddess addresses Ari and Doji. Ari slaps Doji, calling him an idiot. Ari and the goddess watch Doji, who has been knocked out. The goddess explains that decapitation is a modification of the harvest ability and recalls that it evolved to have an area effect. She concludes that the decapitation ability evolved in the same way to a mass version. Ari and Doji are shocked, and Ari comments that such evolution is only possible for apostles in their first year. The goddess expresses her gratitude for Chansu, recognizing that his extraordinary growth guarantees their safety. She calls him a child to be grateful for. The goddess smiles, emotional and relieved. She strokes Ari's head, telling him not to worry, and he apologizes. Chansu returns and greets the goddess. The goddess thinks to herself that she wants to talk to her apostle, but doesn't know where to start. She decides to introduce the others as her family. The three run towards Chansu, who is confused. A system window informs that the god of abundance has granted Chansu a new ability. The window offers two ability options: promise of abundance and communication. The goddess smiles, confident that her apostle will choose communication, so that she can advise him to avoid dangerous fights. Chansu prepares to make his choice. The goddess thinks with gratitude, "Thank you for choosing me." The system announces that the promise of abundance ability has been acquired. The goddess, unaware of the choice, continues to smile. Upon realizing what happened, the goddess is shocked. Chansu analyzes the new ability window. He ponders that communication would probably allow him to talk to animals and plants, but has no idea what promise of abundance is. He imagines the nightmare of hearing the complaints and threats of plants and animals. Horrified by the idea, he decides it's better not to choose communication. He concludes that ignorance is bliss and turns to make his choice. He selects promise of abundance. Chansu notices that everyone has suddenly become discouraged and wonders why. He decides to focus on the new ability for now and opens his status window. He sees his abilities listed as decapitation and promise of abundance, noting that the latter has no description. He picks up an apple. He declares that he will offer an apple to the goddess. Chansu offers the apple to the goddess. The goddess turns her face away, pouting. A system notification informs that the points used are accounted for and returned according to the utilization of the ability. Chansu understands that even if she didn't eat it, the offering counted as fulfilling a promise, earning him points. He pinches Hamdal's cheeks. He is amused by Hamdal's reaction and thinks about trying it with the others. He declares that he will fill Doji's belly. Ari and Doji are terrified. He feeds Doji. Chansu finds it strange that his points keep returning while feeding Doji. Doji is still hungry, even after more than 10 apples, to Chansu's disbelief. Chansu laments the waste of apples, but continues feeding Doji. Sujin comes running and calls for Chansu. She bows, panting, in front of him. With a panicked expression, Sujin warns him. She says that he needs to occupy and defend his territory, as someone may be planning an invasion. She explains that the apples have become so popular that, even with a limit of 1 per person, there are already 5,000 reservations. Chansu is shocked by the news, and she warns that looters are gathering to take his territory. Sujin explains that the area is outside the law, making it impossible to prevent crimes without someone's support. Chansu reflects on who could support him. He concludes that his only supporter is the goddess. He is determined to protect his territory, because if he loses it, not only the goddess, but the entire abundance faction will be finished. Chansu discusses the situation with Sujin. He decides to occupy the neighboring blocks to create a base and get closer to Sujin's position. Chansu complains that 5,000 people made reservations without consulting him. Sujin asks if he didn't know. Chansu looks confused and Sujin smiles. She begins to explain the absurd rumors that are circulating about the apples, leaving Chansu in disbelief. Chansu shouts, saying that it is impossible for any of these rumors to be true. He sighs, exhausted with the situation. Sujin asks hopefully if the rumors are not real. The scene changes to the facade of a hospital. Rohan enters a hospital room while being secretly followed by a photographer. The photographer takes pictures stealthily, feeling that he has found a great story. In the room, Hong Yun-soo, the great alchemist of alchemy, greets Rohan. Rohan hands a gift box to Yun-soo, who is in a hospital bed. The box contains the emperor apples. Rohan offers an apple to Yun-soo. Yun-soo bites into a slice of the apple. Yun-soo is amazed by the taste and exclaims, "This is insane. It feels like the taste and nutrients have been pushed to the absolute limit." While eating, Rohan asks Yun-soo about the variation in taste between the apples. Yun-soo analyzes the fruit, commenting that it would be difficult to achieve such quality even with special fertilizers. Yun-soo scolds Rohan for eating the gift he brought. Yun-soo calls the department store to order more apples, claiming to be a VIP customer. He is informed that reservations are suspended. Yun-soo argues with Rohan about the food. Rohan teases Yun-soo, who responds affirmatively, saying he has plenty of money and time. The photographer captures the scene of Yun-soo throwing a pillow at Rohan. A newspaper headline announces, "Great alchemist Hong Yun-soo was discharged immediately after eating an emperor apple. The fruit cured his alchemy side effects. Is it really a panacea?" In an office, a hand slams a phone on the desk. Sujin's superior, Ryu, shouts furiously, "Are they trying to add more fuel to the fire?" Chansu calls out to the goddess. The ginseng goddess looks shocked. Chansu asks Doji and Ari to protect the goddess. She thinks, confused, did he suddenly change after gaining a skill, but it's not even a combat skill. The goddess grabs Chansu's leg, begging, "You can't go, it's dangerous." Chansu looks at her and gets an idea. He ponders about what to feed the goddess and decides, it's protein time. He thinks he never had the courage to eat meat in front of Ari and Doji. Chansu decides he will cook meat anyway. He goes to his pantry. He finds a package of meat he had ordered and says, "Found it." Chansu remembers that even looking at pictures of meat made his mouth water. He starts grilling the meat. Chansu cooks happily. Doji the piglet drools at the smell and grunts, asking for food. Chansu sees the goddess with an angry expression and wonders if she is still hungry. Ari warns Chansu, "Apostle, it seems the goddess is hungry, check on her." Chansu offers a piece of meat to the goddess, warning, "It's hot." The goddess crushes the meat with her foot and shouts, "Not this, I told you not to go." Chansu worries, thinking, did it spoil? Isn't she angry, is she? He picks up a piece of the meat to taste. He eats the meat. He concludes that something is missing, and it doesn't have the same impact as the apple. He thinks that maybe that's why the goddess didn't want to eat it. Chansu deduces that the goddess didn't like the taste, while she cries and thinks repeatedly for him not to go. He says goodbye to the goddess and leaves. Ari and Doji are shocked to see him leave. Later at night, Ari and Doji sleep. Ari dreams of eating more while Doji warns him. The ginseng goddess watches them sleeping. The goddess sits alone and sad in the temple. Chansu arrives at the shimmering border of a new block. He confirms to himself, this is the block. He observes that from afar the border looked continuous. He touches the digital barrier. A system window asks if he would like to move to block 35N, 10E. The system notifies him that travel rights are restored at midnight, and he finds that thoughtful. He turns on a flashlight. He enters the new block and comes across a jungle. He looks around, surprised by the environment. He hears a noise and turns around. He sees a swarm approaching. The swarm is composed of giant monstrous insects. He desperately flees from the swarm. He prepares to fight with his scythe. He tries to attack the insects, but realizes that even cutting their necks is difficult. He decides he will have to retreat. He comes across undead monsters emerging from the water. He is shocked and wonders if they are there to protect him. The undead declare that they must defeat him, and Chansu realizes that he will have to fight alongside them against the insects. The undead advance against the insects. Chansu observes that the insects are being held back by the undead. He takes the opportunity to attack and retreat. He manages to escape the block. He falls to the ground, exhausted but safe. A system notification informs that defeating grown monsters grants bonus points. He looks back at the battle inside the block. He smiles, realizing he found a points jackpot, and that this changes everything. Chansu notes that his regular monsters are getting stronger. He faces the monsters, stating that he can't hate loyal customers. Meanwhile, in an office, there are piles of work. Sujin is lying on her desk, completely exhausted. Her superior, Ryu, also seems exhausted with the situation. Ryu shouts stressed. Ryu orders Sujin, "Sure, even if a knife is at your throat, don't reveal a word." As he speaks, a figure with a sword appears behind him. Sujin is terrified by the figure. Ryu turns around and sees a blade near his neck. Ryu and Sujin panic at the presence of the intruder. Ryu faces the man who is threatening him. Ryu recognizes the man, Swordmaster Rohan. Ryu gets nervous, wondering how Rohan got in there. Rohan presses Ryu against the table. Rohan demands to know, the Imperial Apple and its cultivator, where are they now? Ryu, Sujin's superior, recoils in fear. He grabs Sujin, using her as a shield as they both panic. Another female employee screams in fear upon seeing the scene with Rohan approaching. Sujin thinks desperately, they say there isn't a senior you can truly trust. Ryu, holding Sujin, says to Rohan, "Well said, well said." Terrified, Sujin thinks repeatedly, "I'm scared, let me live, I don't want to die." Rohan draws his sword and says, "I see, I was hoping to resolve this peacefully, but it seems impossible." Ryu and Sujin scream in panic, "We're going to die, someone help me." Rohan slams the tip of his sword into the ground forcefully. With the sword stuck in the ground, Rohan determines the direction, east side. Rohan declares that he will use his intuition to find what he's looking for. Rohan turns to leave, leaving Ryu and Sujin confused. She asks, "Huh?" As Rohan walks away, Ryu asks Sujin, "What did he mean by that?" Ryu explains to Sujin that Rohan has solved many cases using only this sense of his. Sujin doubts, is something like that possible? In his territory, Chansu waits in front of the block entrance. Chansu remembers Sujin's warning that the Swordmaster would visit him soon. He waits sitting on a tree stump. A system notification appears, someone has entered this block. Chansu stands up, ready to greet the visitor. He looks at the entrance but sees no one. Confused, he wonders where the visitor is. He checks the system again, which shows no errors. Chansu searches anxiously around the area. Suddenly, he sees the block's barrier being torn apart by an intense light and is startled. That's. Chansu is shocked and thinks he tore through the block's boundary. Is that possible? A figure crosses through the gap in the barrier. Chansu recognizes the newcomer and thinks, that's the Swordmaster, Rohan. Rohan asks, "Are you the cultivator of the Emperor Apples?" Chansu confirms and thinks relieved, he really found me. Chansu introduces himself and asks the reason for the visit. Rohan states, "I came to buy apples." Rohan asks for 200 apples, but Chansu, shocked, says he can only provide 50. Rohan accepts the 50. Chansu notices that he seems a bit somber. Chansu asks about the price. Rohan confirms the department store price, 200,000 gold per apple, and says it's fine. Chansu considers whether he should sell more, even if it's excessive. They walk towards the apple tree. Chansu observes Rohan's unchanged expression and thinks, is that the composure of a sword master? Rohan looks at the apples and thinks, apples look delicious. Chansu prepares to use his skill on the tree. He activates Blessing of Abundance. An apple shines brightly on the tree. Several apples ripen instantly. As Chansu prepares to harvest the apples with his tool, Rohan interrupts him. Rohan draws his sword. With a swift movement, Rohan advances towards the tree. He uses his sword to cut and harvest the apples in the air. The apples fall perfectly. Rohan harvests all 50 apples in an instant. Chansu thinks, at this point this is more of a bug than a skill, right? Chansu receives a notification that 10 million gold has been deposited. Rohan puts away his payment card. Chansu stops him from leaving, shouting, "Wait a moment." Chansu realizes that Rohan's help would be very useful, since he can travel freely between blocks. He offers Rohan to see his other crops. Chansu offers potatoes, sweet potatoes, and beans, but Rohan refuses everything, saying, "I'm not interested." As Rohan turns to leave, Chansu panics, thinking, "Then I'm doomed." Chansu stops him again, shouting, "Apples." He offers more apples in exchange for help, and Rohan stops. Chansu thinks he's strange, but he doesn't seem like a bad person. Chansu proposes, "I would like to ask for your help, Master Rohan. I will pay in apples." As Rohan considers the offer, Chansu thinks anxiously, "Have I asked for too much?" Rohan accepts the proposal. Chansu is visibly relieved by the answer. Rohan makes a gesture of confirmation. Rohan nods, sealing the deal. They travel together. Chansu can barely keep up with Rohan's speed and exclaims, "Why, your speed is incredible." Chansu reflects on Rohan's strength, wondering if there is anything he fears. Upon entering a new block, Chansu's foot sinks into a sticky substance on the ground. Chansu walks through the lush forest, questioning why his own land is so barren in comparison. His feet sink into the muddy water. He loses his balance on the unstable terrain. A shadowy creature attacks. Chansu worries, "Are you all right, Master Rohan?" Chansu screams as he sees the monster approaching. Rohan pulls him away from the monster's attack with ease. Chansu, now safe, thinks that Rohan is the real danger there. He looks at the creature and questions, "Anyway, is that a monster?" Chansu realizes that it is a giant, violent carnivorous plant. He prepares to fight the plant. A system tip suggests that he can activate the decapitation skill. Chansu says, "Leave it to me," and activates his skill, defeating the plants. After the battle, the area becomes calmer. Sujin arrives at the scene, stepping in the mud. She complains about the terrain and thinks that she can't just install a door to make access easier. She runs through the forest. She hears Chansu calling her name. Sujin waves back, smiling. She approaches to greet them. Sujin finds Chansu and Rohan crouching next to one of the defeated monster plants. Rohan observes the plant carefully. Chansu finds Sujin and Rohan and asks, "What's going on here?" Sujin, flustered, shouts at Chansu, "That's not what I meant." Sujin whispers to Chansu, terrified of Rohan, "That's not what I meant. Why are you with this person?" Chansu, relieved after the battle, says to Rohan, "It's finally over." Rohan mentions apples, leaving Chansu confused. Rohan expresses interest in the taste of the apples grown here. Chansu laughs and explains that the ground is just a mud pit. With a movement of his sword, Rohan transforms the muddy ground. Chansu is shocked to see the perfect soil and thinks, "So that's what they mean by clicking for real." Chansu uses his Blessing of Abundance skill to make a plant grow instantly in the new soil. Sujin, incredulous at Chansu's explanation, shouts, "What do you mean that's how it happened? I don't understand anything you're saying." Sujin looks at the new apple tree and asks if that's really an apple tree. She smells one of the apples and finds the aroma strange. Sujin examines one of the defeated monster plants, identifying it as a nocturnal creature that is difficult to capture. She extracts the sap from the plant and is surprised by the excellent quality. Sujin asks if Rohan didn't participate in the hunt, and Chansu confirms. Excited, Sujin grabs Chansu's arm and demands, "Of course you're going to sell them, right? Chansu, intimidated, hastily agrees. I'll sell them, I'll sell them, I'll sell them. Sujin celebrates, while Chansu complains about the pain in his arm. Sujin reflects on how amazing Chansu is, being skilled in combat and agriculture, and feels happy to have met him. She daydreams about the profits she will get from all of Chansu's products. Chansu snaps her out of her reverie, asking if she needs anything. Sujin asks for a moment while she gets the supplies she brought. She hands Chansu a portable house and insect-repelling plants. Sujin is perplexed by Chansu's ability to grow plants instantly, something she can't understand as a simple kit. Shocked, she wonders what kind of person he really is. In the temple, the narration states that, despite the simple appearance, that is a monumental day. Chansu prepares to buy his block's property through a system window. The system confirms the purchase. Chansu and his family celebrate finally reaching 100 property points. Chansu celebrates being officially a property owner, explaining that the process took 10 days due to the purchase limit. He discovers that the purchase has unlocked new functions, including the feature assignment system to the block. Reading a system tip, he understands that there is a characteristic that perfectly suits his goddess. The system offers the options growth and death. Chansu comments that with his goddess there is never a moment of rest. He chooses the growth characteristic. The system confirms the choice, and the temple area becomes more lush. Chansu smiles, finding his family's reaction cute. He checks the details of the new feature and sees that it affects the growth of plants, animals, skills, and monsters. Chansu is shocked to realize the implication of monster growth. The narration explains that the new effect brought good and bad news. The bad news, the growth effect has already strengthened the undead spirits. The good news, for now they are still huntable. The narration concludes that, as the monsters grew, the reward and points also increased. Rohan suddenly appears and Chansu asks, surprised, when did you get here? Rohan asks if the apples are gone, and Chansu denies it, incredulous. Chansu has a dark thought, wondering if Rohan will die from eating too many apples. Chansu asks how many apples Rohan needs. The answer is, 120 more if possible. Chansu offers to give a free sample, as the taste may have changed. The narration describes the peaceful afternoon, with Chansu's family having a picnic. A threat approaches, and the narration questions whether their peace will last. Chansu is shocked to find the goddess and the others there, asking why everyone gathered in that place. The family members look at Rohan and wonder who he is. Rohan senses an unusual aura coming from them. One of the family members fears that Rohan might be a butcher. The chick screams in panic at the sight of Rohan's sword. Rohan seems delighted, thinking, how lucky, some unique family members. Chansu throws himself in front of the family members to protect them, shouting for Rohan to wait. Rohan uses his sword to harvest dozens of apples from the tree in an instant. Chansu, relieved and annoyed, shouts at Rohan, "So you were picking apples. Would it have hurt to say so?" Chansu reassures himself when he realizes that Rohan didn't recognize the goddess, mistaking her for a simple family member. Chansu and Rohan shake hands, sealing a deal. With his eyes shining with dollar signs, Chansu thinks, "Welcome, valuable customer." Chansu reflects on Rohan's wealth, thinking, "What I spent on apples was really just pocket change. For some reason, I feel empty inside." Chansu asks Rohan if his training will be destructive. Rohan says no. Chansu insists, worried, is the ground and sky going to split in half or something? Chansu explains to Rohan, I don't have that many points to spare either, referring to creating monsters for training. Rohan points to a corner, indicating that he only needs a small space to train. Chansu watches Rohan walk away. Chansu says to Rohan, "But honestly, there's something else I'd like instead of money." He asks for Rohan's protection. The narration explains that the essence of the world is the capture of territory, and conflicts are unpredictable. Chansu thinks that having one of the strongest in the world, like Rohan, as a bodyguard would be very reassuring. He reinforces his ultimate goal: I have to become a returnee. Rohan accepts the request with one condition: if you can enhance the skill's growth effect, I'll consider it. Ari and Doji watch the conversation from afar. Ari, annoyed, asks Doji what they are talking about. Doji replies that it seems Rohan is going to live with them. Chansu thinks to himself, a sword master protecting us, even the goddess will be satisfied. He sees his familiars shrinking and wonders, are they all shy? Chansu tries to introduce his familiars to Rohan, encouraging them to say hello. The familiars look terrified. Rohan stares at them with an intimidating look. The familiars run away screaming in fear. Chansu laughs awkwardly and comments, I guess they don't get along with strangers. Chansu, changing the subject, prepares to make his first request to Rohan. They arrive at the carnivorous plant block. Chansu sees Rohan eating and thinks, resigned, there he goes with the apples again. He decides, if I buy the remaining property rights to this block, it will become a land of abundance. The system confirms the acquisition of the block for abundance. Rohan draws his sword. Rohan suddenly stops and says, there's something there. They find a small black cat and Chansu asks, a cat? Chansu concludes that it must be a monster like Hamdal, since he has never seen other animals in the area. He thinks the cat doesn't seem particularly dangerous. Chansu approaches and pets the cat, finding it soft. The cat suddenly attacks Chansu. Chansu recoils in fright, thinking, I almost lost 10 years of my life. A system notification appears. The Apostle of Negation has declared war on Block 35N, 9E. Chansu is incredulous. Seriously, a declaration of war just for petting his belly. Chansu asks Rohan if he really believes the cat is the Apostle. Chansu wonders nervously, am I really going to fight to the death with this cat? Rohan explains that, since war has been declared, enemies will appear on the border soon, and they will be people. Chansu is uncomfortable with the idea of killing people, something that never bothered him with monsters. Rohan states anyone under negation can be killed. Chansu hesitates. Rohan explains that they will resurrect in their temple. Chansu asks if it's like a save point, and Rohan confirms. Chansu is furious at the injustice. Resurrect? Isn't that totally unfair? One mistake and it's the end for us, but they just reappear. His anger turns into determination, so they do what they want because they can come back. Well, bring it on. Chansu prepares for battle with his scythe. A portal opens and undead monsters emerge. Right behind the monsters, several humans come out of the portal. Their leader shouts into a megaphone, calling for the Emperor Apple Farmer. Elsewhere, Sujin is in an office, remembering a conversation. That's what they said, right? Sujin reflects, exceptional. Client Chansu is someone even a sword master recognizes. How can someone be so skilled in both swordsmanship and agriculture? She thinks about how he seems to be in his 20s, but has already mastered 2 completely different disciplines. She speculates whether he came from a previous summoning or possesses an artifact. Sujin considers that even artifacts are difficult to use if there is no compatibility with the user's god. She throws herself on the sofa and wonders what will happen next. She laughs at Chansu's idea of suddenly saying he's living with the sword master, finding it ridiculous. Suddenly the office door bursts open, startling her. It's Yunsu the alchemist, and he looks furious. He walks towards her and Sujin panics. What is it? He just glared at me, right? Why is he coming here? Yunsu shows her a test tube containing a pink liquid. Sujin recognizes, wait, isn't that the grass sap I brought? Yunsu demands angrily, where in the world did you get this? Sujin, terrified, starts to cry. A portal opens, releasing an army of the undead followed by a group of humans. Chansu observes the enemies and thinks that, even with weapons, the situation seems controllable. The leader of the enemy group demands that the priest and emperor cultivator reveal himself. The leader complains about the flooded terrain. He shouts into a megaphone, "Let's finish this quickly before we get tired, how about that?" Hidden, Chansu wonders why the enemies are so unprotected. Chansu feels frustrated with the lack of information about the adversaries. He reassures himself thinking that, at least, he has Rohan by his side. Confident Chansu thinks, "I only trust the Swordmaster, even if something happens, it will be all right, right?" The leader sees Chansu approaching alone and questions, "What's up with that guy? Is he alone?" He notices Chansu's scythe with disdain. The leader underestimates Chansu. "Don't you see the numbers on our side? What do you plan to do with that rusty scythe?" The invaders notice that Chansu is not summoning monsters or preparing a ranged attack. The leader identifies himself shouting, "We are the negation." Chansu thinks the negation may be far away, but the Swordmaster is nearby. Chansu provokes, "If you wanted apples, you should have gone to a department store." The leader, irritated, asks, "Are you sure you can handle what's coming next?" Chansu responds with disdain, "If you expect me to answer each one, go ask your mother." Shocked by the insult, the leader thinks, "I guess she's not in this world anymore." The leader's companions reprimand him for exaggerating the insult. Chansu tries to explain himself, but the furious leader orders his men, "Kill him." Elsewhere, the alchemist Yunsu confronts Sujin, "Please tell me one thing." He shows her a flask with a pink liquid. Yunsu approaches Sujin, who seems scared. Yunsu thinks, determined, "We can't lose this deal no matter what." Yunsu explains to Sujin, "The sap you brought maintains a higher purity than normal." He shows her a holographic document. Sujin reads the document while Yunsu talks to her. Back to the battle, Chansu prepares to face the monsters. The leader shouts, "Punish the one who mocks the negation and pain." Chansu concludes that the conversation won't work and decides to act first. The leader is perplexed by Chansu's calmness. He's not even tense, why is he so confident? The system announces the activation of the mass decapitation skill, and Chansu attacks the undead. Chansu smiles, saying that the skill is perfect for slicing them all at once. The leader shouts, incredulous, "What nonsense is this?" Chansu's attack destroys the undead instantly. The leader watches, shocked, as his monsters are annihilated. Chansu steps on the remains of a skeleton. He asks with a victorious smile, "So, are you going to surrender, right?" The leader admits defeat but takes an amulet. He uses the amulet to summon a monster. "Consider yourself honored, advance Heracles." A giant and muscular monster, Heracles, is summoned. The leader shouts, "Don't insult my masterpiece." He orders the monster, "Tear him apart, Heracles." Chansu calculates the cost of the monster, 30 million gold and 100,000 points, He compares the value, thinking, maybe the equivalent of 200 emperor apples. Chansu prepares for the counterattack. Chansu unleashes a powerful blow. The monster Heracles is defeated with a single attack. Kim Soy, apostle of negation, reprimands the leader, "Why were you just watching? You were the one who advanced with so much confidence, and now." Kim Soy uses her ability, and her eye glows red. Chansu is caught by the attack, and his eye widens in pain. A system notification informs that the opponent is using the negation of life skill to curse him. Chansu realizes, so you're one of those who will appear later, The system displays a danger warning. A purple-haired woman appears and confronts Chansu, who is subdued on the ground. The top-knot man celebrates, shouting, "Yes, that's it." He yells at Chansu, "You should have known your place. This is the price for provoking the negation." The purple-haired woman gets annoyed with the top-knot man. She clenches her teeth in anger and rushes him. The man gets irritated by her scolding. He turns around and starts running through the forest. As he runs, he thinks, "I smell the faint scent of apples. I knew it was here." He keeps running, certain he's close. It's only a matter of time now. The man suddenly stops, sensing someone's presence. He looks around, scared, and shouts, "Who's there? Is someone hiding here? Damn it, where did they go?" He panics as he sees a red glow passing by. In his eye, he sees the reflection of a swordsman and thinks, terrified, that red hair and that sword, it can't be. He recognizes Rohan, who attacks him. Chansu finds himself on a city terrace, disoriented. He gets up, confused, with his hand on his head. He wonders what just happened. I was clearly fighting the negation. He leans on the terrace floor. He gets up and looks at the cityscape. He thinks, but the landscape is completely different from the earth I know, and there are so many children here. He turns around when he hears someone calling his name. An image of his parents appears, and they ask where he ran off to and say they were worried. Chansu is shocked and his eyes fill with tears. He runs towards them. Crying, he hugs them and shouts, "Mom, Dad." He sobs, asking where they've been all this time. He holds his mother's hand, which begins to turn translucent, and begs them not to leave him. With his face bathed in tears, he watches them walk away. He reaches out and shouts desperately, "Don't go, don't leave me behind again," before being pulled into the darkness. Chansu shouts back in the forest, still crying over the illusion. Gasping, he thinks, this is just a trick by that woman. Rohan holds him by the shoulder and says, "Calm down." Chansu calms down, still shaken, as a blue aura emanates from Rohan. The purple-haired woman, Kim Soy, is trapped by Rohan's aura and wonders, panicked, why is the Swordmaster here? Chansu gets up, furious, and walks towards Kim Soy with a blade in his hand. His face shows a mixture of pain and anger as he trembles. With his hand shaking, he prepares to attack, while Rohan watches. Rohan steps into a green puddle and moves to intervene. With an energy blade, Rohan grabs Chansu's wrist to stop him. Kim Soy screams in terror, "Wait." Chansu grits his teeth, frustrated at being stopped. The ground under Kim Soy turns into a green swamp and she begins to sink. Rohan asks, "Did I interfere unnecessarily?" Chansu wipes away his tears and thanks Rohan. Rohan suggests they go back for now, and they can clean up the monster corpses later. Determined, Chansu says he will build the strongest faction in the world, starting by conquering the neighboring blocks. He asks for Rohan's help. Rohan smiles and says, "I accept my bonus in apples." Chansu laughs and agrees to give him many. They stop when they see a small black cat lying on its back on the ground. Chansu smiles, finding the cat cute, and asks, "So that cat, what exactly is it?" Rohan reveals seriously, it's one of the 7 great disasters, the Territory Devourer. Chansu is paralyzed with shock. With a frozen smile, he whispers in horror, "Huh, a disaster." In a prison, the top-knot man receives a system notification. You have been defeated in the war. The system informs that war reparations will be calculated based on the battle results. The system applies a penalty for power difference and demands payment of 1 billion gold. Imprisoned, he shouts, "What power difference?" He had the Swordmaster on his side. The system informs that the group has no funds and that the negation will be charged. Panicked, he throws himself against the bars and shouts, I'll pay it back no matter what it costs." He feels a sinister presence behind him. 2 skeletal warriors appear in the cell. They grab him and start dragging him away as he shouts, "Let go of me, let go of me." A woman in high heels approaches. The skeletons throw him at the woman's feet. He stares at her, scared. The woman is Choi Danha, the 4th-generation apostle of negation. Danha threatens him, "If you don't want to suffer a fate worse than death." Terrified, he stutters an explanation. He reveals, "I found an orchard of emperor apples." Danha questions him. He insists it's true, as Rohan was also there. He mentions Kim Soy. Danha turns sharply and asks, "Kim Soy, so she was there too?" Danha approaches him, reflecting on the situation. She smiles, satisfied that Kim Soy suffered the pain of death, and has an idea. She lifts his chin with her finger. A system notification announces the negation requests to negotiate with. Manhwa grabs his face and says, "Take them all with you and make them work to pay off the debt." The system informs that the defeated party will be held prisoner until the end of negotiations. He stutters that it's impossible for them to enter the orchard. He stares at her terrified. Manhwa whispers a threat about what happens when a human is turned into an undead. She presses her thumb against his lips. With a cruel look, Manhwa orders, "Find a way to get in, no matter how." Chansu thinks the cat is cute, but Rohan identifies it as one of the 7 predators. Rohan completes the sentence, calling it a territorial predator. Chansu is shocked and speechless at the revelation. Scared, Chansu clings to Rohan. He despairs when he sees the cat biting something and shouts, "Why would you devour territorial rights? Is that edible?" The object the cat bites is a territorial rights security deed. Chansu sighs in relief when he sees that the cat hasn't eaten the deed yet. He notices that the plants around are withering and thinks, "It can't be." Chansu reaches out towards the withered plants. He uses his blessing of abundance skill, causing flowers to grow instantly. The cat seems enchanted by the new flowers. The cat rubs against Chansu's leg. The cat rolls on its back, and Chansu wonders if it's asking for affection. Chansu pets the cat's belly, finding it big and soft. He thinks that despite its cute appearance, he shouldn't forget that the cat is a calamity. The cat continues to snuggle into his hand. Rohan observes the scene from a distance. Suddenly, the cat meows aggressively at Chansu. Confused by the reaction, Chansu hesitates. The cat seems to demand an explanation, and Chansu thinks, "It's more like a human than a person." Chansu tries to calm it down with compliments. "Because your fur is beautiful like the night sky and your eyes remind me of the moon." The cat doesn't seem impressed with the compliment. Chansu smiles, thinking the compliment worked, while Rohan looks embarrassed. Chansu realizes that his attempt at flattery failed. A system notification announces, "You won the war." The system informs him that he will receive a compensation of 1 billion as a reward. Chansu smiles at the news of the reward. The system notifies that the denial faction has requested negotiations and that the loser will be held prisoner until the end of the process. Chansu reacts to the news with a serious and determined look. At night, Chansu is on a terrace while his familiars sleep. He seems thoughtful. He remembers the vision of his parents he had during the curse. Determined, he clenches his fist. His face shows a mixture of sadness and resolution. He caresses the sleeping mandrake. The next day, Chansu is sitting at a table, looking tired. He slaps himself to cheer himself up. Rohan is sitting at the same table, eating an apple. Chansu collapses on the table, exhausted. Nearby, his familiars eat potatoes. Chansu shouts, annoyed at Rohan, eating anything but apples. Chansu holds his head, exasperated. Rohan offers Chansu a piece of apple. Chansu refuses, thinking that Rohan, as a master swordsman, can take care of himself. Rohan says, "If you don't eat it, I will." The familiars roll on the floor, satisfied after the meal. Chansu crouches down to observe the mandrake. The mandrake and the other familiars look terrified. Chansu reflects that Rohan doesn't know the true identity of the goddess and hopes to be forgiven for his informality. He decides that he will have to explain the situation to the familiars later. Rohan drinks something, trying to stay calm. The pig familiar puts on sunglasses. The pig comments, "Oink, this isn't just digging." The chick attacks the pig. The chick seems to be giving the pig a massage. The chick attacks the pig violently. Chansu turns to the blushing mandrake and wonders what to do. He calls her Mrs. Hay. The mandrake becomes agitated upon hearing the word goddess. Chansu realizes that the goddess knew about the war, even though he hid it so she wouldn't forbid him from leaving. He caresses the mandrake to comfort her. Rohan approaches, saying he has something to tell him. Chansu follows him so they can talk. The familiars cry dramatically over the defeated pig. Chansu takes an item from his bag. The hamster watches him curiously. He reveals a hamster carrier, an item that allows him to take it anywhere. Happy, the hamster enters the carrier, which Chansu attaches to his belt. Chansu and Rohan prepare to leave, with the hamster in its new carrier. Chansu uses a portal to travel, carrying his hamster. He thinks, now, even without a transport pass or Rohan, I won't have trouble getting around. How lucky. Upon arriving at the new location, a voice calls out to him. Sujin greets him, "Ah, you arrived early," while petting a black cat. Chansu smiles, revealing that he brought Rohan with him. Sujin is shocked to see Rohan. Rohan is already eating an apple. Sujin looks exhausted by the unexpected situation. The black cat rubs affectionately against Chansu's leg. Chansu introduces the cat to Sujin. His name is Night Sky. Chansu also shows his hamster Hammy to Sujin. Chansu notices that some nearby plants are withered. He places the hamster carrier on the ground while Sujin watches. The hamster runs in its exercise ball near the cat. The black cat watches the hamster with curiosity. Chansu thinks about his business. Currently, I have 443 regular customers. Chansu asks Sujin, if it's another block, where to? Sujin seems worried about his question. The hamster comes across a dark, slobbering creature. The hamster screams in terror. Sujin remembers the warning. He said it's not a monster but one of the 7 great disasters. Sujin smiles, seeming to have an idea. She grabs Chansu's wrist tightly. Sujin throws him violently. Chansu is launched against the ground, creating a small crater. Sujin shouts, furious, that the disaster can destroy not only property rights but the blocks themselves. Fallen, Chansu smiles sheepishly. Sujin questions Chansu about how he intends to deal with the creature. A system notification shows an expenditure of 200,000 points to protect the territory. Another notification shows an expenditure of 10,000 points on plants. The territory is successfully protected. The system informs that the plants yielded 200,000 points. Chansu touches the root of a large tree. He turns abruptly, alerted by something. Sujin watches him as he says that something broke. Chansu hears the sound of his hamster. He runs, shouting stop, upon seeing the cat chasing Hammy, whose carrier is broken. The cat captures the hamster with its mouth. The cat paws at the hamster. Chansu begs the cat, which suddenly becomes docile and rubs against him. Rohan watches the scene from afar. Rohan continues eating his apple. Chansu shows the hamster, who is fine, to Sujin and says, "You got scared, didn't you?" Chansu talks with Sujin. Sujin talks about the ownership of the emperor apples. Chansu laughs, finding the concern exaggerated for just a few apples. Sujin scolds him, mentioning what a con artist said. Chansu is surprised by the information. Sujin explains that the impostor used a fake apple to impersonate the apostle of abundance. She sighs, saying, "What a relief." Sujin looks at Chansu attentively. Chansu has a serious expression. He clenches his fist, thinking, there was another apostle besides me. Chansu reflects on the impostor and addresses Sujin to act. With a somber face, Chansu seems to have made a decision. Sujin listens with a worried expression. The hamster on his shoulder tries to get his attention. Chansu reveals his identity, the apostle of abundance. Sujin is completely shocked by the revelation. Sujin grabs him, begging him to do something. Chansu picks up an emperor apple. He holds the apple, offering it. Rohan is startled to see the apple. Rohan looks at the apple with intense desire, thinking, 100 apples. The member of negation, walks through a dark alley. He plans to persuade Rohan and his disciple, I need undead. Laments his lack of resources, comparing an apostle without undead to food without its main ingredient. He complains that low-quality undead would only get in the way. Opens the door to a shop. The shopkeeper greets him, calling him Mr. Broken. Per is visibly annoyed by the nickname. He hands a document to the shopkeeper. Per inspects a black crystal with difficulty. Per argues with the shopkeeper, reminding him that he paid extra for the item. The shopkeeper takes the crystal back abruptly. The shopkeeper seems dissatisfied with the price. Per looks defeated. The shopkeeper looks at him, seeming to have an idea. The shopkeeper makes a proposal to Per. He raises his finger, explaining a condition. The shopkeeper smiles, confident in his plan. Per reacts with surprise to the proposal. A malicious smile appears on his face. Upon leaving, Per thanks him for the extra, and the shopkeeper invites him to return. Per steps firmly on the ground and thinks, I finally found it. With his hood down, Per runs with a manic and determined look. A dark-haired man shouts angrily. The denial group, including Per and his skeletons, celebrate kneeling on the ground. Chansu reacts in shock, asking, is this a joke? Rohan holds an apple while Chansu watches him. Chansu gives in and says, no, never mind, please accept many apples. Per, the man with the top knot, gives a malicious laugh. A man, the imposter apostle, is tied up. Chansu is surprised by the speed of the capture and thinks, already, with the movement ticket restrictions and the distance, it seems they were caught right after the reward was announced. He concludes, with 100 emperor apples, things really move fast. The prisoner struggles, shouting to be released, while Chansu feels the energy of abundance in him. Chansu confirms to himself that he is feeling the energy of abundance. A skeleton holds the prisoner, who continues to shout. The prisoner, confused, asks why Chansu doesn't release him, thinking he's just a common type. The prisoner looks at Chansu angrily. Chansu approaches, his face grim, while Rohan eats in the background. Chansu threatens the prisoner with a scythe and the man mocks, when you can't even kill me. The blade of the scythe is pressed against the man's neck. Chansu, with his eyes shining, thinks, even now, I can see exactly where and how to cut you. The prisoner is terrified by Chansu's threat. Chansu has a vision of Per, the man with the top knot, offering him a wreath and thinks he looks like a veteran. Chansu holds the wreath thoughtfully. He questions himself, so it wasn't an energy coming from the artifact, then that guy. The prisoner shouts that the wreath is his, and Chansu thinks, to think that a wretch like this is actually my veteran. Chansu clenches his fist, furious, realizing that it was because of someone like him that abundance ended up in that state. To the prisoner's astonishment, Chansu places the wreath on his own head. The prisoner is flushed and confused by Chansu's action. Chansu, wearing the wreath, looks to the side with a serious expression. With a forced smile, the prisoner asks what he wants. Chansu stares at the prisoner, who shouts at him. Chansu gets irritated and shouts, that's right, the apples and the temple, even the monsters, it was all thanks to me. The prisoner remembers how lost and desperate he was, and accuses Chansu of knowing nothing about it. Chansu calms down, thinking that this is not something a single apostle could do alone. He approaches the prisoner and asks, who is it? Chansu continues to interrogate the frightened man. Chansu questions him, but you abandoned your own god and left. The prisoner explains that he was expelled to that remote place. Chansu raises the scythe and says, I heard your last words well, go in peace. The man shouts desperately, wait. Chansu swings the scythe towards the man's neck. The prisoner shrinks back in fear. Chansu stares at the man with the scythe in his hand. He just hits the man on the head with the handle of the scythe, who shouts in surprise. Chansu admits to himself that he was also deceived. The man cries and begs for his life. Chansu hits the man on the back of the neck, knocking him out. With the prisoner passed out on the ground, Chansu sheathes his scythe. He thinks, as much as I wanted to smash his head right now. Chansu reflects, even if it's a game world, I can't imagine hurting a real person. A red glow appears in the sky above Chansu. A system notification appears, the god of denial suggests you convert. The message continues, offering to kill the man for him if Chansu becomes his apostle. Chansu reacts in shock. Chansu gets annoyed, thinking, I didn't even intend to kill him, making it seem like I can't kill him because of some restriction. Chansu looks uncomfortable with the situation. Per looks at Chansu, who turns around feeling his presence. The god of denial continues to try to persuade him, questioning his reasons. The message insists that Chansu is the talent that should become the apostle of denial. He promises him unparalleled power if he converts. The entity suggests he try it for just 1 month, but Chansu shouts, I said no. Chansu realizes that, for the god to be able to send a message, he must be connected to Per in some way. The dark aura around Per and his men dissipates. Suddenly, Per and his men begin to applaud and praise Chansu. Chansu smiles, holding the reward notifications, with the defeated imposter at his feet. A view of a ruined temple covered in vegetation. One of Chansu's familiars, a chick, looks up. The chick and the other familiars react enthusiastically. Chansu holds the wreath and realizes, Goddess, this is the artifact of abundance. He kneels before the mandrake and offers the wreath, saying, I return to you what was originally yours. Chansu observes the mandrake's reaction. The mandrake snuggles affectionately into the wreath. Chansu smiles at the scene. He holds the wreath. The wreath floats and lands gently on the mandrake. A bright green jewel materializes in the center of the wreath. A powerful green light explodes from the mandrake, enveloping the other familiars. Struck by the light, Chansu complains, suddenly what? He looks intently at the source of the light. A female figure with green hair emerges from the light, asking, Is it you? The pig and chick familiars look in wonder, realizing that she has regained her power. The light dissipates, revealing a small goddess with green hair and a white dress.